Hello, I'm Richard Hooper and this is SatTV Week. Now I'm pleased to be joined by Hadi from North Telecom. Hadi, thank you very much for joining us. We've spoken many times before. When we spoke before, the satellite industry was going through a great deal of evolution and change, and there were challenges ahead. What's your perception of what's happening at the moment?
Yeah, actually, this is a great question. As I've told you before, we as a service provider, we see a lot of challenge and opportunity at the same time. But the most enforced challenge in the market is supply and demand issues currently, We have just huge supply and demand is shrinking day by day, weekly, monthly, And that's a great challenge. I think to overcome on this challenge, we need to enter to kind of blue ocean strategy. We have to set the strategy, to do the demand creation. Actually, blue ocean strategy is nothing than demand creation. So how we can create the demand, or basically how we can set the blue ocean strategy, I think there are few factors, few pillars. We all need to work hand in hand in the supply chain, to make this happen. One of the most enforced pillar for creating the blue ocean strategy would be marketing strategy. I believe we have to set a new marketing strategy inside the satellite market. Maybe I can elaborate a little bit more, The most enforced marketing strategy should be we need to go to different market. We need to segment this market. We need to understand the customer needs. What are the customer needs? What are the market needs? We need to basically bring the service up based on the customer requirement, based on the market requirement, based on the market segments. And we need to, at the end of the day, we need to go after customer excellency, customer support, and consequently, we can succeed on those market and those basically market segments. The second pillar of the blue ocean strategy would be simply, restructuring the supply chain. I was talking at Casbah. I bring this up. I think look at that on supply chain in satellite industry. It is really very sick and very weak at this moment, because every industry look at on the supply chain, from production all the way to service delivery. There is a very proper chain, well-defined job and responsibility of each basically, chain is very, very clear, very obvious, But I think we are missing this in the industry. We have to rely on service providers, system integrators, satellite operators, satellite manufacturers, launchers, But as you can see, often in satellite industry, for instance, satellite operators are doing the job of service providers, and actually that is ending to, instead of demand creation, that is ending to killing the demand in the market. Because if you don't have the culture, if you don't have the customer excellency culture and orientation within the organization, you will not be able to simply deliver the service. So I strongly believe one of the ways for overcoming this supply and demand issue, or better to say, to create a blue ocean strategy, or blue ocean basically, would be look at on the supply chain and restructuring the supply chain. The third pillar of that, which is very well connected to number one and the numbers the second, would be the human resource. Basically bringing new human resource, not just from the satellite market, but also from the other markets. Because how you want to meet the customer requirement, how you want to meet the market requirement or market segment requirement, if you don't know what are the challenges and what are the opportunities from those market segments. So I think if we would be able to get these three measures in place within the satellite industry, we would be able to overcome these supply and demand issues, a few years down the road.
Now, you're a service provider, so this affects you more than anybody. Why has the satellite industry become so complacent and not done something about this sooner?
Again, I think I have to go back to supply and demand issue. I mean, I really see the big issue in the industry itself is the supply and demand. And I'm not actually blaming the suppliers, i.e. satellite operators, for bringing more capacity. I think more capacity meaning that more opportunities, but my question always for satellite operators is, what are the markets, what are the segments we can use and we can leverage the capacity. Bringing capacity itself is not just competitive advantage itself. We have to look at on the segments, we have to look at on the customer needs, and we need to create the service simply, for requirements of those market segments, those customers basically. We see a lot of challenges. The most enforced challenges is customer excellency. I've said that many times in different events, interviewing with different magazines. Even in the past, I have mentioned with you, we have to ensure we are delivering the service and we are basically going through the customer excellency. How this can be possible? You need companies like service providers, like North Telecom or others, like a Speedcast, for example, in the market, to having this customer excellency culture in place and ensuring they are delivering the service together with the customer excellency. So the most enforced challenge in the market, not just in the satellite market, I'm talking about the other market, or basically other market segments, would be the customer excellency and the service delivery. That would be the most enforced challenge.
Now, there's a lot of disruptive technologies coming into the market, and we've got the influx of new LEO constellation. Is that going to add anything into the value chain immediately, or in the foreseeable future?
It is very interesting subject. Thanks for bringing this up. LEO constellation or MEO or any disruptive technology basically. It is just adding satellite capacity in the market. The question, in contrary, I have a question for you. Do we really need more capacity in the market? That would be the question. I don't really see that because we do have enough capacity in the market right now. Even we do have oversupply capacity. The technology itself is great technology. It could be a very long-term opportunity, but it is always depend on how we go after demand creation. Can we create demand? Can we go to new markets? Can we understand what are the requirements on the other market segments? If we can identify those requirements, if we can identify those opportunities, then definitely LEO, MEO, any other new technologies in the future would be very interesting, would be big opportunities for the satellite markets and consequently for the other markets.
For North Telecom, though, with these conditions in place, what sectors are you particularly looking at then to drive your business forward?
Interesting question as well. I think everyone knows steel, oil and gas, and maritime sector remains one of a very big interesting market, which I think there is a huge opportunities on those market. So North Telecom will remain focused to work on those market segments, while I have said many times in the past, I think we are one of a very few satellite service providers which we are very much diversified in the market. We are working on different verticals. Broadcasting is one of our big, portion of business. We are also working on the managed service. for different verticals. We are also providing service to telecoms. We have a very good partner down in Middle East, and again, we remain focused, on these two verticals because we believe those verticals are the verticals which we can generate more and more business, or basically more revenue, profit from that.
Hadi, thank you very much.
Most welcome. Thank you.